Greetings everyone, and welcome back to the channel. Kind of going back to the review I posted last week, going forward, I'm, going to be talking about much older and, albums I've loved and enjoyed for a long time, and, for those that crave new stuff, this, might not be good, but for those of you that just want to discover more, dark ambient and dark ambient related classics, well, I think you'll enjoy these, videos I got coming up in the near future. So today I want to talk about Inanna and their album Ov Torment. Originally released in 1992, although what I have here is the 2006 reissue from Cold Spring Records. Now, Inanna was the solo project of a Swedish musician whose name was Mikael Stavöstrand, and that name might sound familiar to you because Mikael, prior to just taking on Inanna as a solo project, he had a project called Satani, which he did with Thomas Pearson. And Satani are usually referenced as one of the first death industrial bands. They are a very good band. And I think all the recordings are very much worth hearing, but I feel like his work with Inanna far surpasses anything he put out with Satani. Now, Inanna, this album was originally released in 1992, originally just a self-released cassette, and then it was picked up that same year by a label from the Netherlands known as Stalplaat, if I'm saying it right. And that is a really legendary label, been going, I think, since the early 90s, maybe even late 80s. It was primarily a home for a musician who was known under the name Muslim Glaws. They released several, and that's being generous when you talk about Muslim Glaws. That project literally had hundreds of releases, but the label released a lot of stuff from that project. And this was a label that, as I said, was originally based in the Netherlands, but then in the early 2000s moved to Berlin, Germany, and as far as I know, continues on these days. So very much a legendary, label in the post-industrial scene, and one that you probably have something from, you just didn't realize it or whatever, maybe, but they put a lot of stuff over the years in any case. So what I have here then, as I already mentioned, is the 2006 reissue of Ov Torment, which was put out by Cold Spring Records. I got this in my collection back in 2006 when Cold Spring Records sent this to me for a review on my old zine Lunar Hypnosis. I absolutely loved it. This was, as far as I can recall, the first time I felt like truly frightened by, like a dark ambient or post-industrial related project. Yeah, that's probably the best way to put it. This is one of the creepiest, darkest albums ever recorded. Essentially what you have here is, this album is sort of a mishmash of like early 90s death industrial and dark ambient intermingled with a lot of military percussion, lots of noise and power electronics characteristics. There's some screamed and growled vocals. There's these like choral samples, these like symphonic parts. It's just some really unorthodox, weird stuff too. But the thing is, it has this very sort of, I guess I would say almost, dark ritualistic kind of vibe to it too. It is a very diverse album, and it is an album that, to say this album is a journey is an understatement. This is like genre-defying, just amazing dark music right here. When I was to get those reviews or those promos in the mail, I was usually just like, oh Jesus, what the fuck is this gonna be? But I put this on and I was like, This is really freaking good, and this is an album that, well, as I said, it's been with me since 2006, and it's absolutely incredible. I think what makes it interesting too is, as far as more modern death industrial is concerned, it's perhaps like a little bit more not as abrasive and not as harsh as you might expect out of death industrial. Whereas if you approach it from like more of a dark ambient perspective, then it's maybe too abrasive or too harsh to be a dark ambient record. So it's sort of in that middle ground there. But then again, if you're kind of familiar with early 90s death industrial, I think you'll see the connections pretty quickly. And a band that definitely reminds me of too is In Slaughter Natives, another Swedish project. And project, if you've never heard them, I urge you to stop everything you're doing and go look them up. But In Slaughter Natives was absolutely one of the greatest music projects ever made, and I have everything that the band's put out, and it's really good. And yeah, you definitely can hear the sound from that project coming into Inanna here, but then again, In Slaughter Natives was very much in its infancy in 1992 as well, so it's kind of hard to say, if or whatever. But then again, the guy from In Slaughter Natives did mix this album as well, so there's definitely some connections going on there. But yeah, this is dark and just evil, foreboding stuff, and that's what I like about it. If a record can, make the hairs on my arm rise up just about every single time I listen to it, then that's an album worth keeping. And, as you can see, or as I've kind of told you, it's been with me for almost 20 years now, and if you've never heard it, I mean, as far as death industrial goes, or just more creepy, occulty, ritualistic, dark ambient, I mean, it rarely gets better than this. That's basically what it all comes down to, is if you've never heard this, but you've maybe heard a more modern-day, contemporary, ritualistic, dark ambient, or death industrial, well, I could probably, with little regret, say this is better, but this is just fantastic stuff. So, just look at the front cover. This newer layout kind of resembles the old original one, but has a better feel, I suppose, than the original pressing does. But yeah, this is really, really cool stuff. Dark and just wicked sound, I guess would be the best way to put it. Evil, foreboding, ritualistic stuff. There's a little card that came with it, so why don't we just read that and see what that says. So, Inanna, Day of Torment. Reissue of the massive Death Industrial album from this Arconsatani side project. Originally reissued in 1993. Style plot. Okay, I was wrong. It actually came out in 93. Inanna were at the forefront of a new force in doom ambience way back in the early 90s. The stunningly remastered and repackaged album brings alive one of the classic scene albums, a milestone in ultra grim and crushing death sonics that paved the way for many drone and ritualistic industrial bands around today. Mixed by J. Havo Kuninen in Slaughter Natives. So yeah, I wish I could remember if there was like a promo sheet that came with this when I first got it, because I used to always get that when I got promos back in the day, little promo sheet. But I guess I must have tossed it out at some point. But yeah, man, if you're like like I kind of said in my Death Industrial video from a few weeks ago, I am still very much I guess a novice when it comes to Death Industrial. I've never really fully explored it. But it's definitely worth looking up this old Death Industrial stuff from the earlier 90s, because it's not as abrasive, and I think it has more of a dark ambient characteristic to it that would perhaps make it appeal more to more casual listeners of this kind of stuff. But just a colossal album that I have loved for many years. I mean, this is one of those albums I love putting on and just listening in the dark or listening via candlelight and stuff like that. I mean, it's an interesting feeling to get scared, and if you can get scared through music, that's always a cool feeling too. So, interestingly, as much as I kind of, just said how much I love this album, I have, for whatever reason, never bought any other Inanna records. And I know what you're thinking, like, well, why would you do that? Wouldn't you have bought all of his albums years ago? Well, hear me out on this, and let me see if you guys have ever done this. Have you ever heard a record and been so blown away that, like, you're basically afraid to check out the other records because you're afraid they might suck? Well, that's basically what's going on here. I'm afraid that his other albums are gonna suck because this is so damn good. It just, I mean, as far as like creepy ass dark ambient death industrial and just post-industrial experimental ritualistic stuff is concerned, like this is like the cream of the crop right. It rarely gets better, or if it has ever gotten better than this. So as such, I've just never adventured beyond this one. Although I have listened to a few single songs here and there, and if I'm honest, I wasn't that impressed. It just didn't sound as cool as this, so I don't know, maybe I should just, break this habit of doing that with this artist and just finally buy some more stuff. But or if you guys have heard any of the other records from this band, I would definitely be curious to hear an opinion. But it seems like the general consensus is that this is Mikael's masterpiece, and this is the album I have from him. Interestingly, and I guess Inanna went throughout the 90s. The last release came out in like 1998, it looks like. And then it seems like, and I guess if Discogs is correct, afterwards he kind of disappeared, or it seems like he disappeared from the whole industrial scene, and then he went for more of like a techno and rave dance kind of music career. I mean, that's just what I'm pulling off of Discogs. If anyone can fill the gaps there and let me know if that's true or false, I'd be delighted to hear. But it definitely, the little bit I heard of that was definitely a lot different than this, and was not as cool or not nearly as dark. So I don't know. I guess somewhere along the way he made some changes and was not into making this dark and evil, creepy sounding stuff as he did on Day of Torment. But anyway, yeah, if you wanna get in death industrial music or just some creepy ass dark ambient, man, this is the one to get. Inanna, Day of Torment, Day of Torment, Inanna, Day of Torment, Inanna, Day of Torment.